We're going live. Here we are. We are live. You are live. It has just told me we are live. Now, I was going to do this alone today, and my good mate, Dan, just popped up at the last minute and said, I think we should touch base and set up a podcast for some stage. And I said, well, are you free today, Dan? And sure enough, he has jumped on. He's impromptu jumped on. We have got Dan here, Dan is great fun, and he's great up. He's got a great upbeat energy, and I think he'll.
Oh, don't set me up like this, Adam. Now I've got something to live up to.
Well, that's it. No pressure on you at all, Dan. We don't know who's going to jump onto this stream of consciousness. We'll see how it goes. But it's great to have you here.
Build it, and they will come, Adam.
That's it. Well, we've built our field, our online field. Let's see who turns up. Who are our all-stars going to turn up today
and join in?
Yeah. We'll just join in. We're just going to roll with it today, Dan. So I'm going to let you intro yourself, since you've been kind enough to show up here at absolutely zero notice whatsoever. So give a little intro for yourself, Dan.
Okay, yeah, no worries. So I am Dan Glide, as it says down there, and I am, as it says there, a men's coach. So I'm a life coach, but what I call myself at the moment, Adam, is a peak performance and rapid results coach, because that's what I do. I help guys perform at their peak in every area of their life, and I get them results rapidly. They come to me, they tend to be stuck, they tend to be a bit stressed and frustrated. On the outside, they're very successful. They're business owners and leaders, busy professionals. They've got excellent businesses and careers, or they're entrepreneurs, but they're not feeling it, Adam. Do you know what I mean? They have a life that looks good on the outside, but feels terrible on the inside, because their success has come at a cost. They've followed the path that society laid out for them. Build the status, get the reputation, get the nice car, go on the all-inclusive holidays to Dubai, have a multi-million-pound business, and you'll be happy. And they go, Dan, I'm not happy. And yeah, they're stressed and they're frustrated, and they're looking for more meaning and purpose and fulfillment and a life that feels as good as it looks at. So they come to me to get moving, to get to know themselves, really, Adam. That's what it is. They tend to be guys into midlife. I've had clients right from 35 to 65, but it's kind of that period of transition where, and I'm sure you've been there, Adam, where you sort of look around and you go, is this it? Is this it? Is this like what life's all about? Is it? And or they're a bit worried they haven't fulfilled their potential, and they've realized that stuff isn't it. That acquiring stuff and getting stuff isn't it, and that they want some meaning in their life. They want some purpose in their life. So that's what I help them do. I help them get to know themselves. My business is called Positive Masculinity. And that's not just a business. It's my philosophy for a new way for men to thrive. And it's about being yourself, knowing yourself, being yourself, and loving yourself. Because as I always tell everyone, Adam, you can only love other people as much as you love yourself. So if you're not showing up for yourself, if you're not caring for yourself, you're going to be half-assing your relationships. You're not going to be able to show up for anybody else. So, in the guys I work with, they tend to have got stuck in what I call the 3 Ps: perfectionism, people pleasing, and procrastination. And all 3 of those things steadily chip away at your self-worth and your self-esteem and your self-respect until you dip into a depression and you suffer with anxiety and overwhelm, because you're like, what's it all for? And they're still working hard, and they're thinking that working harder is going to do it. They hustle more, they grind more, and it just makes them feel worse. It just means they've got less to offer. And they get home and they're shouting at their kids and they don't want to, and then they're feeling guilty and they're falling out with the missus, or they're having affairs, or they're drinking too much booze, or they're gambling, all the holisms they're getting involved in, all the dopamine hits, doom scrolling, all the short-term pleasures. Because they've got no joy in their life, Adam, because they don't know who they are and they don't know what they want. And that's what I help them do. And that was quite a long intro, wasn't it?
Well, fair play, Dan. I mean, that is definitely the all-inclusive version. And I will say, for anyone else on here, that Dan's social media is second to none. It's brilliant. So I would say follow him.
Very kind.
I'd say follow him. See what he's actually doing. So
you can find me on LinkedIn, people. That's the only platform I'm on majorly these days, and I'm lucky. I've built a really nice community on there. And I post about all the stuff I just talked about. So, mental strength, emotional resilience, belief systems, value systems, all that good stuff.
Well, you've had a personal challenge yourself recently, Dan. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, happy to. So my poor old dad, probably about 6 weeks ago now, got the results back from, the shit on a stick test that they get old people to do. Sent that off. Got a thing back saying there was abnormalities. So went to one of the local hospitals and had a colonoscopy and found out he had cancer. So he had colon cancer, which you can imagine turned his world upside down for him. He thought that was when he spoke to me, he thought that was curtains. I was like, no, Dad, that's not the world we live in these days. Unfortunately, Adam, he's been smart enough to invest in really good private healthcare. So my brother kind of picked up the horns and led the way and got him straight in to see to a private clinic in London. So he's been seen by the country's leading experts. So the guy who did his surgery is one of the country's leading experts in the procedure that he had. But sadly, the first procedure he had didn't go according to plan. So he ended up with a leaky bowel. And, as you know, somebody who's worked in healthcare yourself, Adam, that's serious shit. Oh, pardon the pun. So he had to go back under the knife, have an even worse, more major operation, be cut from ear to ear and be cleaned out and stitched back up. And the poor sod has been through the mill. And I'm so pleased. The real reflection for me is I've been able to be there for him. So I've come down from Scotland, been there with him in hospital, and been a really positive kind of person for him to be around, because I've built mental strength and emotional resilience, Adam. I've spent a long time working on that. I have daily habits and routines which build that. So when shit like this happens, I'm good as gold. Yeah, it's been stressful. Yeah, we've had, I've been traveling up and down the country. It's been difficult seeing your dad that vulnerable, and especially after the first op had gone wrong. Me and my brother and my sister were all there in a room watching him deteriorate. And it was horrible, Adam. It was really, really horrible. Fortunately, he's out now. He came home yesterday, so I'm at his house now with him. And he's cancer-free, which is the greatest news. They got it early. It was only stage 1. They've cut it out. There's no other cancer in him. That's clear. But now it's the recovery bit. And I think that first finding out the first operation hadn't worked was such a blow, Adam, psychologically such a blow. And then to go through another horrific surgery, and then he suffered with delirium, then he got an infection in his wound. And mate, the amount of fentanyl he's had, he could have sunk a boat. No wonder he had delirium. They gave him one of them buttons, and every time anyone would walk into the room, to do his blood pressure or take his temp or bother him in some way, he's just got the button. He's like that. Boo, 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 boo. And he'd be like, and then he'd come to and he'd go to me, Dan, why is there a cat on my bed? Dad, it's not a cat on your bed, mate. Lay off the fentanyl.
Yeah, fentanyl's good stuff, mate. I mean, that is one of the consolations to going into hospital.
Well, I think he overdid it, Adam. I think he overdid it, mate. It sent him a bit loopy, and then he wasn't quite sure what was real and what was not for a couple of weeks. And my dad's not the sort of person who's done anything other than had a couple of beers in his life. And I was like, Dad, I used to do this for fun. Not fentanyl, you understand, but hallucinate.
Yeah, Dan's coaching methods, taking a alternative route.
But it's so lovely to get him home, Adam. It really is. It was so nice to get him out there, because I think he was feeling a bit like he was in prison and being tortured. As I say, he was lucky because, or not lucky, but he was smart enough to get himself good health care. So this facility was shit hot, Adam. It was like a 5-star hotel. But of course, when you're in this same room with the same 3 walls, watching the same shit telly for nearly a month, it can drive you around the bend. So now I think his proper recovery starts, and I've just got to get him eating and moving and sleeping.
Absolutely. Well, fair play. Only once popped in with a little comment. Perfectionism, people pleasing, and procrastination. Yes, not good.
Yeah, the
That's
three P's only
the
once.
three
The three
P's.
P's. And, you know, we've all suffered with at least one of them, haven't we, at one stage or another?
Yeah, I think this whole thing about people pleasing has been a big thing on this channel. We talk about it quite a lot, Dan, because
Yeah, we
the main,
did before, didn't we, Adam?
yeah, the main sort of target on this channel are people that are highly sensitive, that are empaths, healers, light workers, people that usually have spent most of their life giving, and now it's that
Yeah.
whole wake up period of where's it got me? Where's it all led? So the stuff that you were talking about of this like midlife crisis that you talk about, the wake up of like your whole life has led to a point that you're not happy with. You must be very familiar with that zone, I'm guessing, with the work that you do.
Totally. Yeah, very much so. And you know, as you and I both know, Adam, you attract people like you, don't you? So the guys I work with tend to be people like me. I burnt out in my broadcasting career because I was just giving, and I became a horrendous people pleaser because I thought it was a way to get ahead. And all that did is just reduce my self-worth and my self-esteem, and it made me depressed and it made me anxious, and it just took me further and further away from who I genuinely am, my authentic self. And I think, especially when you're a highly sensitive person, you've got to have strong boundaries. If you know, we people like us were put on this earth to heal. We were put on this earth to help. We were put on this earth to serve, but we can't do it from an empty cup, Adam. We can't. And there are some toxic MFs out there who are narcissists and psychopaths who are just going to walk straight all over you if you let them.
That's it. When you're a decent human being, you tend to be an arsehole magnet, don't you? And that's the issue. So let's talk about that.
Especially if you don't have strong boundaries, Adam. You will attract ourselves because they'll think, that I can stick my tentacles in there and suck for all I'm worth.
Easy target.
Exactly. They're never going to say no to me. So I can be really charming and lovely, and they're just going to do everything for me always. And I'll just suck their energy until it's dry.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you know about this, Dan, but they took a bunch of ex-cons and showed them some footage from a street camera, just people walking down the road. And they said, right, if this was a jail setting, who would you target? And they all picked the same people. They all picked the same people.
Because it's a vibe you give off, right, Adam, isn't it?
Yeah.
You give off a vibe. I am vulnerable.
Yeah. Even the way that you walk down the road. It's interesting though, isn't it? That the mindset,
yeah, very
leads to the physiology.
Your body language and everything.
Mouth.
It gives clues, doesn't it? Even so, those criminals, no doubt, probably didn't know why. They couldn't tell you why, but they definitely can pick the people out that they know are going to be vulnerable.
And that's it. Because I mean, we're all about energy on this channel. And we talk about energy, and we talk about how it's a mindset, and we talk about how your energy can improve your situation. What I will just jump in, we've got a few people jumped on the stream now. So to anyone that's watching this, firstly, thank you. Secondly, I've promised on this stream to read out every single comment. So depending on how daring you want to be, I open up the door to let you be part of the stream, because I've just brought Dan along here to wing it. I said, look, Dan didn't even know he was going to be here until a couple of hours ago. When he popped up into my radar and said, we must do a podcast sometime. And I was like, Dan, what are you doing at 4:30?
So, I didn't mean sometime like this afternoon, but here we are.
No idea what he was getting himself into today. And that's the sort of random serendipity that I like to talk about when we work with energy. I was there thinking, actually, who could I ask to come along? It would be much more fun if there's someone on here to bounce stuff off. And then Dan texted me within about 10 minutes. Energy. That's how energy works.
Yeah, and you've got to notice this stuff, Adam, haven't you? This is what I say to all my clients, right? You've got to notice. We're all busy making plans, aren't we? And we're all busy, our egos are all busy trying to make stuff happen, trying to control. Life doesn't work that way, right? So that's an illusion. Control is an illusion. So when this sort of stuff happens, right? When you said that, you said to me, do you fancy doing a Jedi live stream? I was like, what's a Jedi live stream? It's a live stream for Jedis. I was like, whoa.
Okay, then, yeah. That'll help clarify.
I was like, yeah, cheers for clearing that up, mate. Yeah, and you've got to, haven't you? See, Adam, when you switched on to it, when you've got to, first of all, you've got to quiet your mind and cultivate stillness. And when you do that in your life, and you can shut up that negative voice, that worst enemy thing that's always telling you how shit you are and you're not good enough and you're not enough, quieten that bad boy down. It never goes away. It's always going to be, that's part of the human condition. But you can quieten it down and you can cultivate space around your thoughts and feelings. Realize you're not your thoughts and feelings for a kickoff. You're the witness of them. And then when you start to identify with that witness, when you realize that you are awareness, you begin to notice that actually life happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. And things like this are open doors. Life opens doors for you, and it's up to you to walk through them. And if you're too busy, if you're too inflexible, and you're not going to notice these things, and you're going to miss the real magic of life. Because my mind said, when Adam said to me, "Do you want to go live on YouTube with this?" In my mind went, "God, no! What, with no preparation and no agenda, no outline, no!" But the me just went, "Hell yeah, let's do that."
Sounds like a wild ride. Let's just go for it. Well, here's something interesting, Dan. I don't know how much you've looked into the phenomenon of luck. Well, I had to research it for my book, and I found this chap called Dr. Richard Wiseman, and his whole life has been studying luck to work out, is it something we're born with, or is it something we develop, or is it both? Or could it be both? Or can you be lucky? Can you train someone unlucky to be lucky? And can you lose your luck? And he's asked all of these questions, these mad questions. And he's come out of all of this research that he's done. He's done some really interesting studies as well. But what he's effectively found is that luck is a mindset. And a big part of luck is being open to this, this random serendipity. A lucky person is far more likely to say yes to what I asked you today. Someone that's unlucky would say definitely no, because they would want to have more control over the situation. So, a lucky trait, one of the traits that is firmly tied with people that are lucky, is that they'll go with the flow. They will be, spontaneous. Spontaneity is a big part of luck. And lucky people tend to be a lot more spontaneous than unlucky people. That they will go down the, if a friend calls them out of the blue and says, right, let's go out, a lucky person's far more likely to say yes to that. And it's always, I think if we track back at life, maybe this is an interesting stream to go down, Dan. What was a situation, and there's probably been loads for you, but if I just ask you this question, what's the first one that comes to your mind? A situation that absolutely popped up at the last minute. You didn't think about it, you just went with it, and it turned into one of the best times, one of the best days, one of the best things you ever did, that was completely unplanned.
Yeah, so something immediately springs to mind happened in my last career when I worked for the BBC. So I'd been striving to direct live sport for a long time, and always just falling short. I got to do bits and pieces, but nobody really ever took me very seriously to do it, right? And so there was one time where we just set up the live streaming team at BBC Sport, and I was part of the people that did that. I liked doing new stuff and being cutting edge, and so when they started doing live video streaming, I got really heavily involved in it. And we got an opportunity to do a rugby league match. So it was just before, in like the FA Cup, in the Challenge Cup, it's all the smaller teams until like the third round, then the big teams come in. So it was just before that round, and they suddenly decided, the RFL, the governing body, they wanted to do a multi-camera thing. So this was just going to be a live stream, one camera follows the play up and down, cheap and cheerful. That's why we were able to do it, because it didn't cost much. But yeah, the RFL, I think there was them and a production company. So the production company wanted to try out a brand new facility, a 4K broadcast operations truck, and they decided they wanted to do it on this rugby league game. And the rugby league said, okay, well, we'll pay for 4 cameras. So the BBC had no directors. They were all doing football and whatever else. So Muggins here got to do it in a brand spanking new truck 4 cameras, never done it in my life before. And again, my mind went, no, you're not ready. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to make an idiot of yourself. You'll mess it up. But I actually said, yeah, all right then, go on, I'll give it a go. Never done it before, Adam. Never done it before. And it went brilliantly, superbly. And it opened so many doors. I got to do live FA Cup. I got to work at Wimbledon. I got to work on the Six Nations. All these things I've been chasing for years, striving for, planning and plotting and scheming and making alliances and trying to say the right things to the right people at the right time. Never worked. Random opportunity falls in my lap. My mind screams, hell no. I was like, hell yes. And my career totally changed from that day onwards. People started taking me seriously because I went and because I had this thing, Adam, I just backed myself. If I say yes and I go do it, I just back myself because I think, what's the point in doing anything else if I'm going to do it? So I went along, I puffed my chest out, I went, I'm going to back myself. So I spoke to all the cameramen, did set all the geography up, directed as if I was an experienced man. And then I told the cameramen at the end, I was like, oh, thanks for bearing with me. That was my first go. And they were like, really? We thought you were an old pro. And I was just winging it, Adam. I knew how to make telly. Don't get me wrong. I've been working in telly for a long time. I'd watched very good directors, so it wasn't like I just rocked up out of nowhere to do it. So I kind of knew what I was doing, but I'd never been in that seat. And this was live, Adam. So there was nowhere to hide. If I messed it up, it was going out live on BBC iPlayer and BBC Sport. Messed up, but yeah, It opened door. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was an amazing experience, and it opened doors for me. And it literally happened within days. Do you know what I mean? Suddenly, someone came and said to me, "Oh, Dan, do you fancy doing this?" Every part of me screamed no. I went, "Yeah." And 3 days later, there I was in this high-tech piece of equipment with all these lights and screens and buttons going, "Yeah," and coming to 1 and next and 2 and 2. Like I've been doing it for years because I just winged it. I just thought, well, I will own this. And it was amazing.
Well, fair play, Dan. That's exactly what it's about, though, isn't it? These spontaneous things you do, stepping up.
But it made me realise as well, Adam, that the striving gets you fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
All those years of plotting and planning and trying. Just landed in my lap. Yeah, mate, do you fancy doing this? Yeah. And that's how life works, right?
Yeah. It's funny because my friend is a public speaking coach, and I've watched her in action. And she starts the presentation. She goes to the front of the room, and she says, "Right, I've got a £50 note here. Will anyone swap it for a 20?" And you can just see this tension in the room. Everyone's sort of looking around. They're looking at each other. No one's really moving. There'll be this big long gap. And then suddenly somebody will go through the thing and give her a 20 and do the swap. And then she'll say, right, does anyone want to swap this for 10? And of course, then it's a little bit quicker, the next one. And then it's this for a 5. And then it's who wants the 5. So she gives away 50 quid to start the thing. And the whole point is about being ready for opportunity. Just to talk about the stuff that we were talking about. Now, I've done loads of public speaking training, and one of the things that we were trained, actually cast into our DNA, is that stage time is wealth time, and that if you get any opportunity to go up on that stage or somebody hands you a mic, you've got to seize it with both hands. This is like free advertising. It's an opportunity. And it's one of the reasons, by developing like public speaking skills. And it's so true. So many doors open up, so many serendipitous conversations. I remember grabbing the mic at some random event once, and I can't even remember what nonsense I come out with, but it got me in the networking section. People coming up to me the whole time. Fair play. Wow,
it's my best lead generator, Adam. It's my best lead generator, talking live, which is why when you offered me this opportunity, here I am. Because, people buy from people, and especially with what I do, Adam, you've got to have a connection with. If you're going to be coached by someone, you've got to have a connection. You talk about energy. It's an energetic thing, right? You've got to have the same vibe. So it's when people see me and hear me, they go, "Oh yeah, like this guy. Oh, he swears a lot. Oh, he doesn't take himself very seriously. He's not going to make me eat quinoa and take ice baths." So yeah, it's something I'd like to do more of. So just putting it out there, people.
Well, fair play, fair play. Well, if you don't put it out there, Dan, people don't know. You know, you've got to have those, even if it seems like a stick in the desert, you've got to stick it up there. You know, you never know who's going to be wading through there, serendipitously see the signs. So I'm all
But it's
about
funny,
that.
isn't it, Adam? And where you're talking about that and that thing about taking opportunities, because our mind gets in the way all the time, doesn't it? And now I've really worked hard on my self-awareness. So I watch this happen now. I observe my mind discern. You go, no, we don't, and it wants to keep us safe. Our ego mind wants to keep us safe. So all of a sudden, it feels exposed when you've got an opportunity like this, when you've suddenly got a load of eyes on you and your mind goes, oh God, no, hide. What if we say something silly? Oh God, what if we get humiliated? Oh God, won't that reduce us? And your mind, and I just think, shut up. What if I signed my biggest ever client of all time? He's sat in the audience and you and your constant chatter means we missed that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, fair play, fair play. You just got to you never know. You never know where it's going to come from. I mean, interesting enough, I've just had a flashback to how I got my first client. It was a mad story, absolute mad story. I was attending a personal development event in Alexandra Palace, and I was staying at this place with my girlfriend at the time. It was very cheap and cheerful, but it was one of these things. It was like a pub. There was no sort of reception area. If the pub was closed, there was no one around. And my girlfriend, after the night one, we went to the workshop, and it was day two, and she just couldn't sleep and kept me awake all night. I was ready to kill her, quite frankly. And in the end, I said, right, I've just got to get up. I'm going to go to the toilet. So I went out to the toilet, and by the time I came back, she decided to go out to the toilet and shut the door behind her. And I was stuck outside in my boxer shorts, and we couldn't get back in the room. No phone, no nothing. Like, I was there with just me and my boxer shorts, and she turned up back at the room, saying, well, I don't know what to do. I thought you had the key. I was like, why the fuck would I have the key when you were in the fucking room when I was like, so the two of us were stood outside the hotel room door, me in my underwear, her in her nightie. And there's this guy who came out. He was about to head down to the showroom, and he's like, what are you two? I said, listen, mate. I said, I know it's a mad story. I said, but you haven't got a phone, have you? I said, because we've locked ourselves out. We don't know. We've got to go over to the conference. We've got to be there in an hour. We don't know how to get back in the room. And I just ended up having a laugh. There I am in the corridor of this hotel room, having a laugh with this guy who did everything. In fairness to him, he did everything to try and get us in. He couldn't get us in. And in the end, my girlfriend, who studied martial arts, put her foot through the door. That opened it, folks. That opened it. So took it off the hinges. We knew that the door was going to be open all day, so anyone could have stolen our stuff. But that was how our day started. And when I went to sit down, and there were about 8,000 people in this place, and there were hardly any seats left by the time we got there. And I went in and I saw this one seat. We had to separate. We couldn't even sit together. We had to separate. And I went and sat in this seat and hadn't noticed I'd sat down next to the guy that tried to help us get in the door, who ended up being my first client.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I remember, so when I first learned to coach, Adam, one of the business coaches I work with said, Dan, clients are everywhere. Always be enrolling. And it's true, isn't it? It's true. And life just opens these doors for you. You're suddenly, I'm trying to remember. I met somebody, and I was walking across a bridge, I think in where I used to live in Yorkshire, and something just made me turn around. I don't know what. Something. I think I felt like I'd forgotten something or something like that, and turned around and bumped into this person. I was trying to think who it is. because that's like the most serendipitous thing that can ever happen. And I didn't even know why I turned round, but I did. Only once has piped up again, Adam.
Only once is in. Well, fair play. Since only once is asking the questions, then we will go.
Oh, this is a big question.
This is a big question. Well, this is something that I talk about, Dan. So maybe you want to give your tuppence worth on that before I pipe in. What's your take on that? So just for everyone else on the stream, only once has said, Adam, please give examples of the bullshit passed down generations, the ancestral karmic debt. I think you're onto something important to run with. So this is just for your reference, Dan. This is something I talk a lot because it's an energy thing that we take on energy from past generations. So what would your slant be on that one?
Well, from what I know, Adam, this stuff literally gets passed down in our DNA, right? And it becomes part of our wiring. You know, you get this generational trauma thing, don't you, going on, and where it literally gets passed down in our DNA. And it's, you know, in the work I do, it's about breaking cycles. So a lot of people parent how they were parented. There's one clear classic example of things going through the generations without ever stopping to go, hang on, why am I doing this? There's a great story that I once heard about talking about kind of bullshit rules that get passed from generation to generation. That there was a group of monks who were like vow of silence meditation type Buddhist monks, I think. And every time they tried to meditate, they had this cat, and it was a bit nuts. And the cat would just go batshit. It would start legging around the room and creating a fuss and making a noise. You know what mad cats are like. So they got into this routine of every time they were about to sit in quiet contemplation, they'd put the cat away in a cage and they sort of shove it away. Now, the monks 100 years later were still putting their cat in the cage. And one day, one of the monks said to them, why are we doing this? Why are we putting the cat in the cage? And the other one sort of scratches and went, I don't know. Should we try meditating and just let the cat do its thing? So they did, and the cat was absolutely fine because it wasn't that cat. It was 4 generations ago cat. So, and this is the sort of thing we do. We pass on these rules about how we should live. And about who we are, right? So we get given this sort of conditioning, don't we? We grow up in this culture. They say, well, this is who you are. This is what your name is. This is where you come from. And here's what that means. You have to obey this rule, and you can't do this, and you must do that, and you should do this, and you ought to do that. And it's like, that's all bullshit, man, the whole lot. And you're allowed to question every last single bit of it. You are here as an individual, but an individual is part of something greater. And once you're aware of that, once you know you're not your thoughts and feelings, you're not your name, you're not your personality, you're not where you come from, you get to make choices. And one of the choices we can make is to leave that generational rubbish behind. We don't have to take that on. It's not ours to deal with. We don't have to keep locking the cat away because this cat is fine. It doesn't run around when you're trying to meditate.
I got to laugh. I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up.
Is your cat there? And so that's my kind of take on it, Adam. And you know what I like to talk about is being a cycle breaker. That's what I like to think I am. I think I'm a cycle breaker because I've always been this way, Adam, since being a little kid. I've always asked why. And people used to say, shut up, Dan, stop asking questions. I was like, no, I'm going to fucking ask questions because I want to know. You know, my religion, I was brought up as a Roman Catholic. I constantly ask, this doesn't make sense, right? So Jesus said this, but you've set up this rule that says that, where I've got to judge people and these people, the way they live is wrong. It's like, Jesus doesn't say that. Shut up, Dan. Stop asking questions. No, I won't stop asking questions. I'm always going to ask why. I'm always going to see what's behind it. I want to know. I'm not just going to do things because somebody else said so. And I feel like that is this stuff that's passed down for generations because we never question it. And we take on all this stuff from the generations, all this pain and all this subjugation and, you know, being part of the matrix. That's a generational thing. It's been passed down. Be a good little producer and consumer, because that's the way to get on. That's the way to succeed. Hell no.
Absolutely. Well, I pretty much agree with that, Dan. But from an energy point of view, whenever we turn up in any interaction, even our interaction now, if we haven't set our energy field, then we take on board the energy, and we give energy, and we take on board energy from the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. So anyone that's not continuously clearing their energy field will take on energy of other people. And anyone outside of the energy space, and a lot of people within it, funnily enough, are usually at any given moment walking around with no more than 3% of their own core energy. And wow. This was one of the brutal truths that I had to face when I first got into the energy world and started working with people that could read this stuff, could actually look at it and see exactly how much of my own energy. When I first got into energy work, when I had my first reading, I'd less than 2% of energy was mine. Wow. And this was part of being an empath, you know, part of being a healer, part of being a people pleaser.
Because you're open, right?
I spent so much time open, wanting to connect with everyone and be friends with everyone, that what I became was somebody else. That I wasn't really me. It wasn't who I was. I wasn't here to, you know, I was so focused on fitting in and being everyone else's mate that I didn't even know who I was. I've never really properly considered it. And so when I understood this from an energy perspective, and it ties in with everything that you've just said, Dan, this is just the sort of energetic input on it of to what happens energetically within this dynamic. And this is why when I had my breakthrough and realized that, like yourself, Dan, that I was here to be the breaker of chains, the mother of dragons, you know, I got this clear insight that it was my job to stop this domino effect. And that's why I've been drawn to the world of energy and clearing my own energy field. And here's a symptom for people that are really highly empathic. If you want to know whether you've cleared your energy field or not, one of the biggest side effects of people that don't clear their energy field, that are highly empathic, are weight issues. Because when we take on board other people's energy and we don't clear it, and here's another symptom. You spend time with somebody, and at the end of it, they go, wow, thank you so much. You're brilliant. You've changed my life. You're amazing. And as a people pleaser, that's your validation. You don't need to get paid. That is it. You know, you've hit the mother lode. Somebody has acknowledged that you are brilliant at what you do. And yet you feel drained at the end of it. And this is because of this energy transference, which is why clearing your energy is the missing link. And that's how ancestral energy gets passed from generation to generation. And also another symptom within that is that if you've got kids, for example, or in my case, nieces and nephews, where suddenly they'll do something, it'll trigger a reaction, and you'll say something or do something, you think, hang on, that's not my response. That's bullshit behavior that was done to me that I hated as a kid. And here I am handing it out. And I catch myself thinking, what the fuck is that all about? And that's a classic example of us taking energy on, not clearing it, and it manifesting in really bad ways, and then it passes on to the next generation. So yeah, it's a very interesting question. Only once. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share this, because I think a lot of people that are drawn to energy, to healing, to wanting to do better for themselves, will realize, they'll have this awakening that this is bullshit. My family's behavior is bullshit. And I'm here to, there's no way I'm passing this on. It stops here. It stops here. You're like the Monty Python bit. None shall pass. But I only want to go across the bridge. None shall pass. Answer me these questions three. Like, can I
not disappear down in Monty Python? No.
No.
And we're all walking around, aren't we, saddled with this stuff. So I've developed a little routine that I do before and after coaching sessions, because you really do take on people's energy. I can feel it. I come off some coaching sessions and I'm like that. And after, so I do a little energy clearing routine where I do deep breaths, and I literally physically say, I'm clearing my energy field, I'm clearing my energy field. And I jump up and down as well, Adam. I find that's a really good way. I sort of, and I visualize it going into the earth as I jump up and down. That's after coaching sessions. And before I do a little meditation where I say, I let go of anything that doesn't belong to me. And I'm not bringing anything to this coaching call that shouldn't be here. I'm just going to hold presence and hold space, because I can't turn up on coaching sessions with a load of other people's energy, even with my own shit. I can't turn up on coaching sessions. So I love that. And it's something I really want to get into more, is energy work. I feel like at the moment, one of the things I need, and it's somebody you introduced me to, I'm going to work with, is that energy clearance. I feel like I'm walking around with some shit I'm saddled with, and I can't see it. I don't know what it is. I can feel it, and I need somebody who can read that and help me to let it go, and then help me do the work so it doesn't come back. Because I've done energy clearance, I've done those things, but there's some work, Adam, isn't there? You need to do, otherwise it just sticks back to you, doesn't it?
Well, fair play, Dan. I've noticed Eric Newport has jumped in, and great to have you here, Eric. I think you're the first. That's the first comment we've got from you. Great advice, thanks. You're very welcome. So I hope it has helped. And only once is back with no, none shall pass. I love it. I love when I find Python fans, because I think that in all this seriousness, this quest for purpose and life, I think everything that we needed to know was in Monty Python. And if you look now, if you look now at the Monty Python, especially Life of Brian, where they had like Brian's mum was a bloke. I mean, how ahead of the curve was that? I remember watching it as a 10-year-old thinking, this is absolutely ludicrous, but I love it.
Yeah, it just was. Ludicrous is the word, isn't it? And the Holy Grail, just pure genius, just so fun. And every time I watch it, I see something else I've never seen before. I see a little joke or a little one-liner, and it's just so clever there. And that the whole vibe, I just love that, sending everything up, like nothing is off limits and nothing is serious. And I like to live that way, Adam. I like to live that nothing is serious. Never take things seriously. If I ever catch my mind taking things seriously, I have to put it out and go, no, come on. This is not our vibe.
Got to have your funny bone and you, Dan. You know the score. So Eric said, indeed, I've been watching for a few weeks. It's great. Thanks, Eric. Well, it's great to have you on board, fella. Great to have you on board.
You've got a fan, Adam.
Look at this. Yeah. Well, usually I do get a little mini crew. I've got like 3 or 4 people that usually pipe in with the comments if they turn up, and they can take these streams really left field. I never know what's coming. So that's what I love about. That's why I don't plan them, Dan. I don't plan them, because you never know who's going to show up and what they want to know.
Yeah.
Or where they're going to take it.
If you plan a thing like this, you just limit its possibilities, right?
Well, this is it. I mean, this is the epitome of unplanned. I mean, you getting in touch when you did today. I mean, and not only that, I mean, this is a fairly light-hearted podcast, and for the heavy duty stuff that you've been dealing with lately, to then switch energies and jump on this, fair play to you for having the versatility to do that. And it really is. Sometimes, I mean, we found this in nursing, and it'd be interesting to get your slant on this one, Dan, because like gallows humor and being able to crack jokes at even the darkest hour. I mean, that's something that I found. It's for people that haven't been in that setting, they don't really get it. But for anyone,
and you need it, don't you? Like people who work for the police and stuff like that. They've got. There's a guy in my WhatsApp group who's like a chief inspector. I won't give away where he's from, and he's one of the funniest people I've ever met, because there is nothing that he won't laugh at. Nothing. And he was telling me once about how he'd been a first responder to a hanging, and he walked in, and his colleague stood there having a conversation with the geezer hanging from the ceiling, asking him if he wants a cup of tea. And he's just like, Dan, we have to be that way. Do you know what I mean? He said, I'm walking in, there's some poor sod's husband, dad hanging from the ceiling. He said, the only way we can deal with it is to laugh at it. That's all we can do. He said, what else you do? Otherwise you just break down under it.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to have people that can crack those jokes. I mean, I remember I'd just lost. This is actually our mutual friend, Mr. Nichols. So I remember I've got to tell a pre-story to give the context of this. So I was at an
We're
event.
in, aren't we? Everybody's in.
I was at an event with him once, and it was, we were doing presenting. Me and Paul were on the stage. He said, "I've got to go outside. It's important." And I was like, "All right, go off you go." So I had to wing it. I finished up the event. I went outside to see what he's doing, and he's playing this game. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing, Paul? Like, we've got a live event in there." He's like, "No, it's Clash of Clans, and we've got a battle royale or whatever it was. He had a time limit to go in and fight a battle, or he let the team down." And so I was like, "What is this?" And he got me into Clash of Clans. I thought, I'll download it. I'll see what it is. We'd go to networking events, and before anyone turned up, we'd load up a little battle, and we'd see if we could do it. And we ended up in this clan, and there was a guy there. And the idea is that you can help each other. You can give each other men and fill them up, give them extra troops. And we got this guy, and all he did was take. He was so ridiculous about it. It became funny. So all he would say, put in the chat, he'd say, "I need more men's," and people would say, "Oh yeah, we're giving you more," and then he'd say, "No, I need much more men's." And I said to Paul, all this guy does is ask for more men's. So it became a thing, we need more men's. Because Paul was he had a multi-level marketing business. And I said, this guy's a genius. I said, you've just taken me to a 4-day conference to say how to do multi-level marketing. And this guy has got through in like one sentence, give me more men's. That's multi-level marketing. That's all you need to know about multi-level marketing. So it became a joke, this whole thing. I need more men.
It could be the strapline for my business, Adam.
Give me more men's. No, I need much more men's. So this became a thing with me and Paul. Like, it was like an in joke that was going in the background. And fast forward a year or so, and I play football every Sunday with a really nice bunch of lads. And about 3 years ago, one of them went away on a holiday with his kids, and there was there was a fire. He was on the barbecue, and it all flared up and burnt him, and he died a couple of days later. And it was pretty heavy duty. We lost one of our mates playing football, and I was there. And Paul phoned me up out of the blue, and he said, "How are you doing, mate?" I said, "Well, it's a bit of a tough one, mate. Having a tough weekend. We just lost one of our mates that plays football with." And he said, "It sounds to me like you need more men's." And he said, "Too soon? Is it too soon?" And I just found myself laughing out loud. Only Paul.
And it's such a great release.
Yeah,
it's such a great release in that situation, Adam, isn't it? It really is.
You're there in this thing where you could end up crying. You've lost one of your mates, and then
it's heavy shit, right? It's really heavy shit, isn't it, when you lose somebody close to you, and then for Paul to come up with that divine timing.
And I did end up crying, but crying with laughter, because it was a different form of way of releasing, what I was feeling. So, I mean, people that can do that for you, it's a gift. It is the gift that keeps giving. Because I always remember it when I talk about, gallows humor and stuff. That comes straight up. But obviously I have to explain the context of it with the Clash of Clans to give it, so people actually understand the context of what I'm doing. But yeah, absolutely. There you go. There's a little gem that we've pulled out of next time you see Paul, you'll have the context of the more men's thing.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to see him because I'm down here with my dad. Paul only lives up the road. He's only 20 minutes up the road. So probably next week I'll definitely get together with him. Yeah, and I'll ask him. I'll get him to regale me the tale of the more men's. I'll just say more men's to him and see how he reacts.
Yeah, so have you got me? Can we get more men's?
I need more men's.
I need more men's. Well, especially for what you're doing, Dan.
Yeah. I'll see if he twigs straight away.
Yeah, see if he clocks it, because it'll be interesting. He'll have to work out. But once you say men's, that's the whole thing. This guy was called Master. Is the guy that the player on the game was called Master AJ, and I said, this guy's a guru. I said, he's nailed multi-level marketing in like 2 sentences. Give me more men's. No, I need much more men's. Well, not only that, in Clash and it's so stupid. In Clash of Clans, you've got to collect gold and elixir. Like the elixir creates the troops, and the gold upgrades your buildings. And he used to come out with these mad things, and he'd say, I need gold, but not elixir. And I was like, well, that's also another thing for your multi-level marketing, because they were selling this mad elixir. I thought, this health stuff. I said, mate, you need gold, but not elixir. So everything that this guy, Master AJ, was saying on this Clash of Clans group was applicable to multi-level marketing. So I frequently have
these. This guy's a freaking genius.
He is a genius. It's like a guru. It's like a guru that came from this game. I mean, and to give this context, Dan, me and Paul, I mean, when I first got to know him, he wanted me to understand the worlds that he played in multi-level marketing. And he took me over to Miami for 4 days for this Market America global conference in the Miami Heat Stadium. It was massive. They had a stage in front of 100,000 people that had come round from all over the world to see their global conference. And I mean, it really was impressive. I'll give them that. But they go on and on and on and on and on, and they love the sound of their own voices. And, you know, I remember watching, Paul will tell you, we watched this 1 hour long presentation, and I was pissing around. I had my phone out. He's like, look, mate, he says, you know, some of this will be interesting. I said, I get it, mate. They've changed the website, which was pretty much the whole, you know, I'd summarized the whole hour in a sentence. And Paul still laughs at stuff like that, because I just found as my blood sugar levels were going down, I was getting more curt with my my comebacks about, you know, what the fuck am I doing here? And just to put this in context to you, Dan, I mean, Paul was really close to the founder of the company. Like, he had a personal relationship with him, and there was 100,000 people in that stadium that would have given their right arm to be as close to him as Paul was. We were in the VIP section, 3 rows back.
I think Paul's told me about him. I've got a vague story, because he was, I'm sure he told me about this American dude that he used to work with. Was he called JR or something like that?
JR, yeah, absolutely. He was massive. He was close to the president and stuff like that. And just to bring this in context, one of the visitors that came in and walked past us to get to the guy in the front row, and he was close. He was no more than about 3 or 4 yards from me, or meters. With Jamie Foxx was one of them.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Jamie Foxx was there, right in front of me, touching distance from where I was sitting, and I was there with Paul. And it was all this glitz and glamour. They had all these ex-NFL stars, NBA stars. You know, it was just full of like celebs. All wanted to get close to this guy and be a part and do testimonials and stuff. And I was right in the VIP section. And I said to Paul, I said, I've had enough. Like, the main man was doing his finishing speech, and he'd been up there about 40 minutes. And he said, I'm not going to waste your time. And I remember saying to Paul, because I hadn't eaten for about 5 hours, and I was like really starving. I was like, Paul, I've got my blood sugar's not allowing me to take any of this in. I said, I'm off for a walk. I went walking down Miami Beach. It was great. It was lovely, a lovely evening. It was nice and warm. This was in January as well. Like Miami in January, great. It's a great time to be in Miami. And I just walked up there. I was watching the boats. I was sitting there. I had an ice cream. I had something to eat. I had a drink. I was sitting there chilling. I probably spent about 2.5 hours just walking up and down, eating, drinking. Came back in a great mood. Walked in and the guy's still talking. And Paul's there like a lunatic because he hasn't eaten for about 8 hours. It's like
he's gone full badger.
He turned into Badgerson. Yeah, he turned into Badgerson, and I could feel it turn. And for people watching this, the whole Badgerson thing, this our mutual friend, my friend Paul, who's an absolute diamond. He really is. He's a lovely guy. If you want to get to know my friend Paul, he's in a viral video that he was in about 15 years ago. If you look up Pendulum Slam on your thing, it'll probably come to the top of the search. There's a viral video that was done by that group, and the fat guy dancing in that video is my friend Paul. And the reason that we were so close in the Miami Heat Stadium is because the guy who was the head honcho in that organization had seen this video and said, we need him. That's what we need for our marketing campaign. That's how he got his break. That's how he was so close to the senior management team, because he had a lucky break in a video for Pendulum
Again, taking
Slam.
opportunities, Adam, innit? Doing weird, what seems like weird, stupid shit that your mind goes, no, don't do that. And you go, yeah, this is
don't do it. And it was top of the MTV charts for weeks as well, wasn't it? The whole Pendulum Slam video. It became like a cult video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit like the Harlem Shake.
Absolutely. It was indeed. It was indeed. Well, I've just noticed, Dan, I mean, time has seemed to have shot by, as it always does when we have our conversations. So what I'll say to everyone watching, if you've got any questions, I'm going to be wrapping this up in a few minutes, because I think an hour is probably long enough to have kept you from whatever it is you're going to be doing.
Talk of food, Adam, and on Miami Beach, I started my
Absolutely.
belly.
Dan's visualizing ice creams now. They don't. We're going back. We're what was the Miami Sound Machine back in the day, mate? There you go, Gloria Estevez, or Estefan, and stuff. And what was the Miami Vice as well? Don Johnson. That's back in the day as well. Jesus, we're peeling back the years today, Dan. We're peeling back the years. Is there anything you want to finish up on? Just let people to know how they find you a little bit more, if they want to get to know you better.
Thank you, Adam. That's really kind. So yeah, I have a website which is you'll see my name at the bottom there. So it's Glide with a Y. danglidecoach.co.uk, or if you like, danglydecoach.co.uk, which is what people often point out to me, and when they receive emails from me, they're like, you call Dangly? No, Danglide, no. Anyway, so that's my website. And you were talking about my content earlier. LinkedIn is the social media platform to find me on. As I say, I've got a nice little community going there. I post on there just about every day of the week, apart from Sunday. Sunday's my day off. And yeah, on LinkedIn, there is on my featured section, you can book a call with me. So if you just fancy having a chat, a fun chat like me and Adam have had here about just, anything and everything, go and book a call. Let's have some fun. Let's have half an hour. Let's have a coffee, a virtual coffee, and just shoot the breeze, man, about life and whatever you want to talk about. I'm here for it.
And I can tell you from experience that it's always an interesting experience having to shoot the breeze with Dan, because we never know where it's going to go, which is why he was absolutely perfect and great fun and a great sport for joining me today, with zero notice and zero knowledge. And as I say, I mean, he said, "What is it?" And I said, "Well, it's a Jedi Livestream." And Dan said, "Well, what's that?" I said, "It's a live stream for Jedis."
And I was like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, count me in. Yeah, I'm in. If
I
you
was
don't
like,
have a few mates
fucking
like that
Adam
in your
Shaw, a
network,
live stream for Jedis. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
that seems like a great idea. Dan, you've been a great support today. I just want to thank you for your time, for joining us, for everyone that's joined us on the stream, especially Only Once and Eric, who have got involved in the comments. Well, thank you very much. We value that. It's always good fun to see where that's going to take the conversation, and you are our guiding light on that front. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Dan. I shall call it the day on
Cheers,
this
Adam.
live stream and catch you all again very soon.